Welcome to another edition of Get to Know Your Warrior football program for the 2016 campaign. I'm Sports Information Director Jeff Weiss, and joined today by Brad Wilson, defensive backs coach and defensive coordinators. Thanks for joining us today, Brad. Let's start with the secondary and the cornerbacks in particular. You have 4 guys returning that all started last year. That's got to be a comforting thought going into fall camp.
It is. To have that number of guys back with significant amount of playing time is good. I think that it allows us to go into camp and really have some position battles and let those guys kind of sort it out themselves that way. But yeah, anytime that you can, nothing really trumps experience, and anytime that you can have that many guys that have played corner in this defense, in this league for that many snaps is a positive moving forward for sure.
Obviously, Brandon Lee getting the 6th-year waiver from the NCAA after playing 1 quarter last year will help, and then obviously James Howard has played quite a few snaps over the last 2 years. Then you throw in Greg McDade, who played a couple of games last year before getting injured and got a medical redshirt. So obviously it's strange saying he's a redshirt freshman when he started 2 games for you. Obviously Jared Singletary. So those guys, I assume, will be the guys that you'll look to this year to lead the cornerback position.
I think initially, and you look at a situation with Brandon where here's a guy that's been a proven corner in this league for years, and last year when that situation happened, it was tough to deal with at the time. Good for us now, and just happy for him that he's going to be able to come back and hopefully finish this thing the right way. And then a guy like James, who's one of the premier competitors that I think I've ever coached, and the thing about James is the way he practices, the way he prepares, has allowed him to be a constant for us. And then a guy like Greg McDade, as you said, who came in last year, who had come off an injury his senior year in high school, and is a tremendous athlete, has a tremendous amount of upside and a great skill set, and then had the injury, I believe, at home in the homecoming game. And then Jared Singletary, who initially came to us as a walk-on, and is another supreme competitor and a guy that has kind of made himself the player that he is now. And I think that when you throw in all those guys, they've all played, and hopefully moving forward we'll be able to utilize them.
And having some young depth at corner doesn't hurt either. You got Dante Eubanks, Devin Manson, Kamani Dooley, a gentleman that came in at Christmas time, and then you have a recruit, Davari Halliburton. So obviously you've got some guys that not only could serve as backups, but see some special teams action as well.
Yeah, and the thing that you like about that is that's where most all these guys that we've talked about, that's where they initially cut their teeth. They cut their teeth on special teams. It's a huge emphasis in this program, and I think that our guys know, and we know as a program, when you're really good in both of those units, they go hand in hand, because those guys, whether they're defensive backs, whether they're linebackers, whatever it may be, they should be on most of your units on special teams. And if you're pretty good on those units, you probably have a shot to be pretty good defensively. So that's where a lot of those guys initially started, and I think that hopefully it serves as a driving force for those young guys too, that this is maybe my first initial shot to get on the field.
Sounds good. Now at safety, you lost 2 all-league performers in Zach Malecki and Jamil Williams, both graduated. But there again, the cupboard isn't bare. You've got Ronnie Brandt, James Hendricks, Laren Johnson has moved to safety, and Deonte Grady is back after an injury last year. So there's 4 more guys that can play safety for you.
Right. I've answered this question a lot in the offseason. Anytime you lose, or graduate, I should say, 2 3-year starters that were 5th-year seniors and have been your trademark back there for a number of years, you kind of went into each season knowing who those guys were going to be. I think that the question has been, how are you going to replace them? Are you going to be young? Are you going to be this? We're not young. They just haven't played a lot. They're guys that they've been here, they've put in their time, they've developed, with our strength and conditioning staff, they've developed in this scheme, worked to perfect their craft and compete, and they've all been special teams guys and saw some spot duty for us, whether it was due to injury or in various packages defensively. So they have played, not a lot of snaps, but I think that there's a lot of talent there, and I think that they're going to surprise some people.
In terms of special teams, you have some other young guys that are looking, I think you said, cut their teeth. You've got Kyle Toth, Andy Malecki, Zach's younger brother, Terry Sanders, and Anthony Copeland. So there's guys that hopefully will get some experience on special teams this year and then be ready to play safety down the road.
Yeah, and I think push some of the older guys. They came out and showed in the spring that they're not just here to assume that role as a special teams guy and play in 2 or 3 years from now. I mean, they're guys that they're competitors. They've had great off seasons, winter, spring, whatever it may be, and they're ready to play. You know, they're not necessarily looking forward to sitting on the sideline this year. So again, I think that there's going to be a lot of competition and good, healthy competition. But you know, that's something that we thrive on around here.
You can definitely see the excitement in your voice for the upcoming fall camp. Thanks again for watching this edition of Get to Know Your Warrior football program.